Hello again, y'all. It's a great Monday start of the week, and I have a good one for you guys today. So let's just get right into it. So I want to talk about how we talk a lot about values on this channel and how to create your own values, how to live out your own values, all that good stuff. Now I wanted to kind of talk about how once we have our values, making sure that we don't put our values onto other people like an authoritative figure, and instead try to live out our values so we can provide an example on how our values should be seen, and in that sense help other people understand our values and also why we value them. And this comes about because in my stupidity, I made a mistake and I practically put my values onto someone else and wanted them to live out my own values. Well, here's the problem with that. Because the other person had their own desires, right? Their own desires, their own values that they value as well. So by me trying to put my values on someone else, or to compare them to my values and make my actions correspond to that or react to that, by doing that, I become an authority figure, right? I want you to do something because of my values. So, thus, you need to do what I want to do. Well, on the reciprocal side, if they desire something and desire something or want something, they also become an authority figure too. It's, I want you to do this, or I'm going to do this regardless of what you say. And once you establish two authority figures in a relationship, then no one wins because no one listens, right? I desire this and I desire you to do this. And in this sense, both me and the person that I was had this let's say conflict with were both very stubborn, so we didn't budge. So none of us budged, and in that sense, you get nowhere. You end up. It's kind of like friction, right? If you have two objects and they go against each other, they start creating friction, right? Frustration, anger, irritation. And that's that you and them being both authority figures and duking it out pretty much. So that's why even though you have your values, it's not necessarily a good thing to put your values onto other people. Same thing with children. So yes, you want your children to grow up and to be the best as version of themselves, and usually that's as the things you value, right? If you value your health, well, I want to teach my child on how to be healthy. But even in that sense, so you have the authority figure, which would be me, the parent, and the child, the subordinate, right? I gotta stop saying the right. So, authority figure, me, the child being the subordinate. I tell the child what to do or how to value something, and then they listen. And in that instance, it works. But what the problem is with that is that whenever the child grows up, they don't have an understanding of why they're doing what they're doing. So if you don't adequately explain your values, also if you don't enact your values, they end up just falling back to nothing. So whenever their values are confronted, or the values you taught them are confronted, they have nothing to go back on. They have no reason why they're doing it in the first place. Then they question, why am I doing this in the first place? And if you're not doing it as the parent, setting the example, showing them why through your actions, then, or you're not explaining it to them, explaining them the why, then they're going to fall apart. They have no method for thinking through their actions, through their values. So that's another sense. So even if there's so we have authority doesn't work putting your values on someone. Authority to subordinate doesn't work putting your values on someone. And of course, you don't want to be sometimes you don't want to be so weak as to allow others to put their values onto yourself. That's why we're trying to create our own values, understand the person, and you are so you can understand your values. So in that sense, it's lose-lose for everyone in every aspect. So what a better way of doing it is like I said, showing by example. Because in the first example, you're not an authority figure. Or you're not desiring to put your values on anyone else. You're not trying to desire to fulfill your values. You're just acting out your values. And if someone confronts with that, then you just have to man, I haven't thought this through yet. And so, if you are just showing yourself an example of your values, then most of the time you won't have to confront. You're not gonna be in confrontation with other people. So, what I mean by that is for my example, right? One of my values is love, and the person I had an argument with was someone I loved deeply, and she pretty much asked me to do something I loved unconditionally. Right? She asked me to do something for her that would take 5-10 minutes, and I essentially, in my mind, was putting my values on her and saying, "Well, what's the point? What's the point of it?" Well, I should have reassessed my values, went internally, and said, "You know what? Like, I don't have to understand their values, their desires, or what they are. I unconditionally love them. And if I don't have a good enough reason, or if I don't have a good enough reason to counteract that, if I make sure, this is another thing, to communicate what I'm doing and why I am doing it to the other person clearly, effectively, then I should be enacting out my value of love. I should be showing that. I shouldn't be telling someone that. So, in that instance, and you really don't get the authority figure side, right, if one of your values is a love, unconditional love to someone, and it's more of a symbiotic relationship. This is something I really haven't thought about. That had the authority to authority. It's because Because you're still an authority figure, but it's more like you're setting aside your desires. You're setting aside what you desire and making sure you're fulfilling in those values that are well, values are a type of desire, because what you value is what you want from your life, right? So let's say health. One of my values is health. So I do want to exercise every single day so I can keep a healthy body. So it is a desire. We can go to unconditional. We can do love, for example, as well. It's unconditional love is loving someone regardless of what they do or say. And if I want to unconditionally love someone, I essentially have to show them that. I want to do an action to express my value of unconditional love. So it's kind of weird. That's something I didn't really realize. I mean, I knew that valuing is wants and desires, but it goes back to how to live is to desire. It's almost like if you want to interact with this world, or if you want to be a part of this world, you have to desire something. And even the monks, right? Even if they seclude themselves and they start meditating and they want to get into a state of desirelessness, they still desire to be in the monastery and away from people. It's kind of weird, honestly. I don't think they would see it like that. I think they would be counteract that and say, hey, we're excluding ourselves from the excess desire of the world. But that's essentially what they're doing. They are excluding themselves because they desire to be in a state where you have the least amount of desire. And that's simple foods, that's a simple housing, and that's exclusion from others and learning of Buddhist teaching. So in that sense, they are desiring something. It's kind of like choice, right? Even if this Mark Manson talks about this example, but I love it. If a baby is dropped off your doorstep, on your doorstep, and you know it's there, refusing to do anything is still a choice. So it's the same it seems like it's the same in this situation, that any action you do is practically a desire for this world. If you go and get something to eat, you desire to eat something because you want to live. You want to sustain yourself. You want your body wants nourishment, right? That's why for us, we can exclude a lot of our desires. We can fast for 5 days, 7 days, excluding that desire to go and eat something. But we're trading off for a different desire of we want to fast or we want to, if you're religious, partake in your religious experiences. So you're trading desires for desires. And that's why I really do think that to actually live in this world is to desire something. And because otherwise you wouldn't be part of this world. You would be something like nirvana or the Tao, where it's like there is no desire, there's no opposite of desire, but you're part of everything. That's kind of what meditation is trying to get at, is like you're part of this whole world. And the point is not to desire to meditate or desire or to have peace and quiet or desire or to not hear anything or desire to be somewhere else. It's to be here. But that's also a desire too, right? It's you desire to be in the present moment rather than to allow our imagination to desire to be in the future or in the past. But that also gets into what's your truth, right? What is the truth? And for us, our imagination is able to conjure up the future and the past. And so, in essence, the only real time frame we have is this present moment. So that can be a truth as well. But it's also what you believe in. If you believe this is the present moment, then you're going to walk as if it is the present moment. If you're fantasizing and imagining the future, you are living in the future. But, oh my God, my friend just texted me. So that's why I go back to what we believe is true is more important than the truth itself. Because at the end of the day, humans are going to believe what they want to believe in, not what you tell them. And the source of growth and change is not us, like at the beginning, putting our values or putting our lessons onto people. It is walking with the example and also understanding where other people are coming from so that they can see how we act in the world and also what we believe is true with the evidence that is given to us. So, yeah, I don't, from the Buddhist teachings, that's not weird. From the Buddhist teachings I have read and understood, I don't believe you can live a life without desire. I think it's impossible. Because every aspect of our lives and every choice we do make is steeped in a desire. Now, here's the thing. Well, steeped in desire. One, excessive desire is something to be avoided, right? Because as if you excessive desire, you manifest the possibility of devastation happening. And essentially, if you desire it too much, then you get devastated. But I'm thinking how it might be with someone who's living in the present. Because maybe they're not desiring the future or the past, they're desiring to live in the present moment. Their desires aren't necessarily something other than what is in the present. Their desire is to live in the present. So by doing that, they live in the present. They do what they want to do. That's what music does, right? It brings you out of your futuristic and past desires and brings you into the present moment where all you want is actually just to live this moment. And actually, I think that's what it is wanting just to live in this moment. It's a desire. I think it's a desire as well. It's just one knowing that living in this moment is almost like being in accordance with your nature, as almost an animal, as a creature, as something part of nature, as something natural. But since we do have the ability of choice, we inevitably do have that comes with desire. Us choosing one choice over another is a desire to have that choice. Just like refusing to do it, refusing to choose anything is a choice of itself. Refusing to desire anything is a desire in of itself. Yeah. Dang, that's interesting. Never thought about it like that. Weird. Yeah, we're gonna stop it right there, because now I have things to think about, to ponder a little bit. So thank you for listening to me during this video. This is definitely not one I am posting on my Raw Education channel, but this is definitely one that I think I needed, because it's given me a lot to think about. So thank you for watching this weird one, and I will see y'all tomorrow. Bye.